Hi there. Today we're going to talk about Ferpa and its importance. My name's Ian Martinez-McGraw. Welcome. Thank you guys all for attending. Ferpa. What Ferpa is. The Family Education Rights and Privacy Act of 1974 is a federal law that protects the privacy of student educational rights. Students have specific protected rights regarding the release of such records, and Ferpa requires that its institutions adhere strictly to these guidelines. Therefore, it is imperative that the faculty and staff have a working knowledge of Ferpa guidelines before releasing any educational records. What are some of the rights under Ferpa? Ferpa affords parents certain rights with respect to their children's educational records maintained by schools and school districts in which Ferpa applies. These include the right to inspect and review their children's educational records, the right to seek to have the educational records amended, and the right to have some. These rights transfer to the student when he or she reaches the age of 18 or attends a post-secondary education at any age and thereby becomes an eligible student under Ferpa. So what is exactly an educational record? Any and all records that directly relate to a student and that are maintained by an educational agency or institution or by a party acting for the agency or institution. So schools, colleges, universities, post-secondary trade schools, a lot of those institutions are in charge of educational records. So some of the examples are Ferpa gives rights to the following rights regarding educational record. The right to access educational records kept by the school, the right to demand educational records be disclosed only with student consent, the right to amend educational records, and the right to file complaints against the school for disclosing educational records in violation to Ferpa. Students have the right to know about the purpose, content, and location of information kept as part of their educational records. They also have a right to expect that information on their educational records will be kept confidential unless they give permission to the school to disclose such information. So here's some of the examples. Educational records are directly related to the student and are either maintained by the school or party organization acting on behalf of the school. Such records may include written documents, including student advising folders, computer media, microfilm, video or audio tapes or CDs, film, photographs, as a special education teacher, IEPs, READ plans, WIDA plans, 504s, any of those kind of things are educational records. Any educator who views a student's educational record must sign and date a log that the record was reviewed. Remember, you must have an educational purpose for reviewing a student's record. We use an automated system, so it actually shows us every time we log in and what we look up. So I know a lot more things are getting digitized now, so that is kind of how the world is turning. Some information in a student's educational record is defined as directory information under Ferpa. Under a strict reading of Ferpa, the school may disclose this type of information without the written consent of the student. The student can exercise the option to restrict the release of directory information by submitting a formal request to the school to limit disclosure. Directory information may include name, address, phone number, email address, date of attendance, degrees awarded, enrollment status, major field of study. Schools and vendors. Under Ferpa, schools are responsible for what their vendors do with the data. That means if a vendor intentionally or accidentally misuses students' educational records, the school will be at fault. Careful screening vendors to make sure they are Ferpa compliant can help. Among the questions they should ask are how the vendor gives parents and students access to records and how it prevents unauthorized people from accessing those records. So our school district kind of subcontracts out a lot of different platforms that have student data, so you just have to make sure that it is very confidential and not easy to access or for someone else to obtain. So surveillance cameras in schools. The Fourth Amendment prohibits governmental entities such as public schools from conducting unreasonable searches. Video surveillance recordings are made in locations where individuals have a low expectation of privacy, such as they are in public place and their movements and actions are in plain view. Courts have rejected claims that such recordings are unconstitutional searches. So schools cannot do unconstitutional searches. They can't get on surveillance cameras and kind of just spy on the kids. So surveillance cameras there are for student safety, not for to get students in trouble. So ransomware, this is something that I kind of just learned about, but I want to share with all you guys. It is a type of malicious software designed to block access to a computer system until a sum of money is paid. As of September 2019, at least 10 school districts have been in the news for their own ransomware attacks, and the U.S. Department of Education reports that hundreds of educational data breaches occur annually. That's kind of an interesting statistic. So immigration and enforcement in schools. Here in Pueblo, Colorado, we do deal with this a lot. We have a lot of immigration here. There are several exceptions to FERPA's protections, which apply in limited situations. For example, the Department of Homeland Security and its ICE Bureau is permitted to have access to student records in order to monitor the stay of international students pursuant to the Student Exchange and Visitor Information Systems Program. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'd be happy to answer any questions. Now's the time. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys sitting through it. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you guys all around.